Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On Time Watch Reviews. This is actually an abbreviated version of my standard on the wrist from off the cuff ramble style format. And I'm happy to follow up with you guys today with the production model of the Raven Trekker 39. A little bit about Raven. They were founded back in 2008. They're headquartered out of the US, and basically they're a micro brand known for their vintage style homages with modern upgrades, and have since recently been moving towards more unique and original designs. I consider this type of watch a dive watch. Some key common characteristics and design when you're looking for a dive watch, particularly a vintage style dive watch. You're going to want something with that modest vintage style size, minimalist dial, and hand layout for very legible timekeeping, water resistance for some type of screw down crown, of course. Any unidirectional dive time bezel is always nice. Now, with that said, let's go ahead, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right. Now, a little bit about this particular model. This is essentially the Trekker 39, which is all new, and it's essentially an improved and refined update on their popular Trekker 40 model. There are definitely a lot of different model variations, 4 dial options, 2 bezel options, creating 8 different total Trekker models. Now, you can get these now. They're currently available at $750 direct from Raven, and I think it's an honestly really great deal. Now, of course, in terms of the specs, you're getting a 39 millimeter diameter, 13 millimeter thickness with a 47.5 millimeter lug to lug, and full 316L stainless steel, and it is nicely brushed for the most part, and then you do have this great polishing here. So, and this is something that's different from the prototypes that I previewed. This is the finished case, and you can see that undercut is just done beautifully. And again, it's just a nice little touch that makes the watch different. And I know some of you are looking at this and thinking, oh wow, this is quite derivative. But that's really not the case. It's actually an amalgamation of quite a few other elements that come together, and it's not like there's any one, let's say Tudor snowflake model that this is really emulating. It's taking a lot of those kind of mid-century vintage elements and kind of mashing them up. I mean, look at the way you have this beautiful flat link Jubilee here. Absolutely gorgeous. Really, really comfortable on wrist. Super impressed with that. And of course, it's all screw-in, which is wonderful. So you do also get this wonderful box domed sapphire with inner AR coating, which you can see as I reflect it a little bit on to the studio light there, that it has that nice kind of blue hue to it. In terms of the bezel, you get a unidirectional 120 click. Ooh, fully loomed. Oh yeah, that ceramic insert. Oh man. This thing is just like dialed in. I don't want to even talk through that. Let's go through that one more time. Beautiful. I mean, I love the tactile engagement, the way it feels, the way it looks, the way my hand grips it, even in the gloves. Also, we do have a screw down crown that is nicely signed, as you can see. Quite handsome from that standpoint. Inside we have a Miyota 9015, as this is a date model. And then for the no date models, they do have a 90 S5 as well as an option. Case back, solid and etched, but and then we do have Lume, of course, all over this bad boy. And in terms of the production versus the prototype, this Lume is absolutely outstanding. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you guys. Of course, full applied indices, date at 6 o'clock. We have this beautiful glossy dial, polished hands, and then the X1 blue Super Luminova, which is outstanding. So let's actually go ahead, get this piece on wrist, and see how it wears. Okay guys, as you can see on my 7 1/4 inch wrist, get a little bit more arm in there. man, this thing wears beautifully. Of course, up close to the camera lens, you might get a little bit of distortion, making it appear slightly larger, but this thing is great, and that 47.5mm lug to lug wears wonderfully. Also, you do have those nice, generally broad shoulders, which do add a little bit of punch. And when you look at the actual dial to bezel proportions, I think it's really well balanced, and of course, quite reminiscent of the Tudor Black Bay 58, which is also a 39mm kind of vintage style diver. The nice thing is here you're getting, of course, 300 meters of water resistance, a very modern build in terms of materials and whatnot, with the ceramic bezel insert. You do have 20mm lugs, drilled lugs at that, so that makes this an automatic strap monster, which is fantastic. And honestly, it's thin enough at 13mm to where you can actually really enjoy this thing on a number of straps, to include NATO straps, either double pass or single pass. This is going to look outstanding, so really excited about that. But honestly, this Jubilee bracelet is so good with that 20 down to 16mm taper, and then you have this pretty much all milled bracelet, including that great clasp, very solid. And then you see also great finishing in terms of, if we can get it to focus, there you go. Look at the finishing here, really quite immaculate. So wonderfully done. But let's go ahead, get this piece down again, and share some Lume shots and closing thoughts. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and hit the lights. Wow. I have to say, guys, I don't know if this comes through on the camera, but this Lume is absolutely outstanding. Super punchy and bright. It does have, you know, honestly, it reminds me a lot of BGW9, but I'd say with, if you imagine a similar intensity and initial brightness that you would get from like a C3, which is great because you guys saw that in fully lit conditions, the blue is actually super white, which is wonderful, which is something you don't get with C3, right? It always has that tint to it. But one thing I like to do in these Lume shots is work in some light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of the times you're going to be coming in and out of a building, maybe even walking underneath an overhang or the shade of a tree, or spending time in your favorite automobile. And you can see here in terms of ranging legibility and transitional lighting, this thing stays true, and you understand exactly where 12 o'clock is. You understand exactly where you are in terms of dive time on the bezel insert as well. But one thing that these lighting transitions also highlight is the finishing there. So you can see that the brushing is quite uniform as the light glides over those beautifully flat Jubilee links there. And then also that really deep glossy dial and bezel insert match absolutely perfectly and play with light the exact same way. So you're not going to get a ton of contrast off of those, but you can see it renders as visually quite black and quite deep. Typically with a more matte dial or satinized finish, you're going to see a lot more grays as it holds the light, but with that glossy finish, it just keeps it looking really immaculately deep and black, really capitalizing on that modern kind of black and steel sports watch look, which is outstanding. So guys, closing thoughts. You know, this is for me a solid top 5 contender in terms of the very competitive micro brand divers under $1,000 space. And yeah, under $1,000, sure, you can get it for $750, but honestly, in terms of what's good under $1,000, this is one of them, guys. So it's right up there with your Chris Ward's, you know, your Helios, your Notice, and your Zelos in terms of being a very competitive and compelling package. So I'm really happy to report that, guys, the bottom line, this thing is really finally executed, thoughtfully designed, and a super solid value. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.